Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, December 31. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has extended the current COVID-19 measures for Westmoreland until January 15, 2021. As a result, curfew hours for the parish will begin at 7 p.m. daily and end at 5 a.m. the next morning. Public gatherings should not exceed 10 persons, while market and vending in public arcades and public transportation centers are only allowed during the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. During the period, authorized public transportation vehicles will be allowed to operate between 4 a.m. and 8 p.m. with no passengers being transported between the hours of 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. and between 7 and 8 p.m. Prime Minister Holness says Westmoreland remains the parish with the highest number of cases per population, with cases spreading across more than 30 communities. He says new cases are arising weekly from several communities across the parish. The Savannah Lamar Hospital is beyond its COVID-19 isolation capacity, and the general hospital capacity is near alert level. The number of moderate to severely ill patients in the Western Regional Health Authority's hospitals are more than other regions, with limited capacity for any increase in cases. The Prime Minister is reminding persons to strictly observe all the infection prevention and control protocols, including wearing a mask, obeying quarantine and isolation orders, maintaining a physical distance of at least 6 feet, and frequently washing and sanitizing hands. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health is reporting 34 new COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours. The update, as at December 30, shows most of the new cases in St. Anne and Westmoreland, which recorded 7 each, St. James with 6 cases, and Kingston and St. Andrew with 4 cases. St. Mary recorded 3 cases, while St. Catherine and Trelawney reported 2 each, and Hanover, Manchester, and Portland all had 1 case each. There was also 1 coincidental death. The country has so far recorded 12,827 COVID-19 cases, of which 10,383 persons have recovered and 1,987 cases are active. 29,129 persons are now in home quarantine, while 61 are in facility quarantine and 84 persons are hospitalized. The public is being reminded that social events such as parties are prohibited under the current COVID-19 restrictions, and as such, none is allowed leading into the new year. The caution comes from head of the Corporate Communications Unit of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Senior Superintendent of Police Stephanie Lindsay. She says persons should try to have small activities in their personal space and limit the number to 10 persons.
But these major events that we see being promoted, we know about them before. We're not going to allow them. We know the tendencies that once they know that we find out about them, they change the location. But we're everywhere, and we're also policing social media and otherwise. So we are overt and we are covert searching for these events.
SSP Lindsay says enforcement measures will be taken where illegal activities are found, and persons will be prosecuted if breaches are detected. To counter hostile response at illegal events, SSP Lindsay says members of the force have been trained and briefed to do the necessary risk assessment, adding that officers will be traveling in numbers.
I know that when you have adequate persons responding to a particular situation, then you will get less resistance, because we're anticipating resistance. If they go to an event that the hostilities of such, we are prepared to treat it otherwise to avoid loss of lives and injuries, but persons are not going to get away with it. The promoters of these events will definitely be held accountable for what happened at an event that you promote.
In the meantime, the police are encouraging persons to report traffic crashes regardless of how minor they may be. Head of the JCF's Corporate Communications Unit, SSP Stephanie Lindsay, says persons opting to exchange information and making the decision to fix vehicles outside of an insurance company can prove to be very dangerous.
Whether or not you're going that route, you are required to report the accident to the police. And while we say you should not do it, even though it's a convenient way of doing it, when you give a person your document and your driver's license, you're actually giving away all of your personal information. You're giving your address, you're giving your TRN, your date of birth, all that information you're giving to somebody that you don't know.
SSP Lindsay says there have been instances where persons fake an accident to rob unsuspecting motorists, and by sharing such personal data to a complete stranger, persons expose themselves to further attacks.
So we have to think beyond just what's happening there. So if you're thinking safety, you don't want to give your personal information to a person because they know where to find you. There are times when this information becomes sour because they're not fixing the vehicle. It was not the intention to fix the vehicle in the first place. So we really want to discourage person from doing it and encourage more persons to report every single accident, whether it's a minor accident or a major accident, to the police.
And finally, just in time for the new school term next Monday, 16 tablet computers and a laptop have been presented to children living in the Salt Spring community of St. James. The devices were presented on Wednesday as part of the No Student Left Behind electronics campaign. It's the brainchild of the Salt Spring Community Outreach Program for Empowerment International Limited. Local chapter president Rochelle Cowley says the No Student Left Behind initiative was born out of the need to ensure learning continued despite the COVID-19 pandemic and its restrictions. She explains that the devices were procured through fundraising and international sponsors from the body's U.S. and Canadian chapters. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.